Hi, thanks for tuning in today. I want to talk to you today about the value of using music when you teach your reading program. Back in 2020, when I first started on an intern credential, I learned about the value of music and how it helped teach reading. And even so much that I used it in my classroom as a new teacher. And I even wanted to use it during the STAR testing, but the principal wouldn't let us. And it was kind of interesting because I've been in the classroom for 10 different years, and I've seen English teachers and history teachers, math teachers, all use music. But when we do our state testing, we don't use music. And why is that? Because it skews the data. All the data they're collecting about student achievement doesn't include music. So if you get started using music, you mess up the data. So if you're not in a profession where you're tracking your data for years and years, decades of years, then try the music and see how it helps your students. A couple of notes I wrote down was you have to have passion to help your kids. You need the time, you need knowledge, and you need resources. So if you don't have the knowledge of why music is helpful, I'm going to read to you right now some of the research that I have been quoting. So this is relatively a novel concept of combining structured language teaching with music. Learning disabilities like dyslexia often come with attention issues, sometimes significant enough to be classified as attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. Early research at Stanford University by Vinod Menon, PhD, Associate Professor of Psychiatry and Behavioral Sciences and of the Neurosciences, has shown that when students listen to a piece of classical music with wandering attention and the transition point between movements, their attention is arrested. Research findings expand on previous functional brain image studies of anticipation, which is at the heart of the musical experience. Actively engaged student listeners, even subconsciously, are following the ongoing development of the score and performing predictions about what will come next. Typically in music, this is a quote, when something next is known, because of the music's underlying pulse or rhythm, what will occur next is less known. In the research article by Adam Kroom, Music, Neuroscience, and the Psychology of Well-Being, he stated, it has well been argued by scholars that the biologically adaptive function of expectation is to prepare an organism for appropriate action and perception with regard to future objects and events. That's Huron 2006, page 3, which is an undeniably crucial capacity for successful survival and reproduction. The speech-to-text associations in a structured language that begin in preschool with rhyming simply demonstrate the connection between sounds and the written words. Explicit reading instruction that gives a student the ability to carefully decode words can be difficult for dyslexics, but with accompanying music, they have a cognitive and attention advantage that can accelerate their success. So that's what we're doing. And I saw this when I started in education 25 years ago. What I wanted to share with you, which we are submitting the surveys for the California Teacher Credentialing Program, because teachers are still not being told, use the word dyslexia. They don't know what the definition of dyslexia is. They don't know how to recognize it and how to remediate it. So according to the International Dyslexia Association, of which I'm in my second term as a board member here in California in the Tri-County branch, the formal definition of dyslexia is it's a specific learning disability that's neurobiological in origin. It's characterized by difficulties with accurate and or fluent word recognition and by poor spelling and decoding. So I just want to say an easy way to say that is with the plasticity of the brain can be retrained. Now, I don't know if you know this, but we weren't born with a reading brain like we were to see and hear. Reading is a man-made thing. So we do have the brain parts that will all work together to create our reading. So when we inherited the printing press back in the Industrial Revolution, 20% of our population, our creatives, were feeling unimportant because reading was now the standard of intelligence. Well, we have to recognize people of the past who have contributed to this to our world, the geniuses: Albert Einstein, Leonardo Da Vinci, Winston Churchill, Steve Jobs, Henry Ford, Steven Spielberg, and more. I could go on and I could go on. And I bet you have your own list that you could share with me. What I wanted to share with you, though, is a lot of teachers don't know what dyslexia looks like in reading, and they don't know what it looks like in writing. So imagine 1 in 5 kids has dyslexia. When a child with dyslexia tries to read, they may glance and guess at the words. They may have memorized the words. They will have trouble sounding out unfamiliar words. So when it's a reading circle time and it's Joey's turn to read and he has dyslexia, he may want to raise his hand and go to the bathroom before it's his turn. I've had a parent tell me that she thought her son had a bladder infection and took him to the doctor because he had to go to the bathroom so much. Well, he always had to go during reading time, and there was nothing wrong with him. He was just full of fear and anxiety when it was his time to read. And I've heard students who develop ulcers because they don't want to read. So they cannot sound out the words, the unfamiliar words. They don't recognize that SH is sh, and that CH can be ch or k. What about Christmas has a CH says k. So if they don't learn the words and in context, they struggle with them. And so the peers are always whispering them, telling them the right way to say it, or even the teacher will help them say the word. That just brings on that humiliation in front of their peers. So that's why we recommend remediation on a one-on-one setting or in a small group of 3. So when dyslexic kids are writing, you're not going to be able to understand their writing most of the time. They're going to omit letters and syllables. They're going to not capitalize their sentences or punctuate. And, they have the darndest time memorizing the days of the week and the months of the year. So actually try to help them, ask them to spell the days of the week and the months of the year. They don't even know what they are sometimes. So dyslexia can also be accompanied with dysgraphia, which is the inability to even write. So when I've given spelling tests, I've had the students say the letter names as they're writing them, and they'll say the name correctly, but ma'am, to look at that word, I wouldn't even know that's what they spelled. So there's that component of dysgraphia. Now, if you've been teaching kids for a while, we know that what letters, okay, I know he means for that to be an A and he means for that to be an F. We know what the students mean for those letters to be, and they get by with teachers like me who understand, but there are some teachers who are just lacking compassion, and they don't think of alternative ways to give the student the test. So when I ask the student to say the letter name as they're writing it, I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt to that student that he knows how to spell that word. He just has dysgraphia. And so I just want to say that because a lot of teachers don't know how to recognize dyslexia in the reading or in writing. And so how do you remediate it? Well, the science of reading says you need a multisensory reading approach. And in California, in October of 2015, our Governor Brown signed AB 1365 that said we have to remediate for dyslexia, assess for it, and remediate. And our scores were continuing to drop in 2017 and 2019, the scores were lower than they were in 2017. And the mandate was for this to get going by 2018. So we really have a reading crisis on our hands. And now with COVID, we've added to that reading crisis. But I want you to listen to these words. A reading program has to be structured, systematic, sequential, cumulative, and emotionally sound. It has to be direct. It has to be implicit. So you have to teach the child one-on-one what they need to learn. And dyslexic kids need a lot of repetition. So what does it mean to be structured? Well, do you have structures in your home? What does it mean to have systems? What kind of systems do we have in our home? So think about your kitchen. How is it structured? And then what kind of, where do you put the dishes compared to the glasses, compared to the pots and pans, compared to the food, where everything is positioned in a place that's going to be functional in your kitchen. And the same with the garage, your husband's garage. My husband owns the garage, I own the kitchen. So, everything is, what's the structure of the cupboards and the storage? And then where does he store things for what purpose? So we want it to be purposeful. So when we're teaching reading, we want to teach phonogram cards. We want to teach the sound and the letter name of each card that has an accompanying picture with it. Then we want to teach the child that the position of the sound matters. So we use little circles. And then we want to say that those sounds transfer to letters. And then, so if they're spelling cat, they're going to see the circles for k, a, t. We're going to have them tap it out on their fingers. We're going to have them say the sound when they pull the circle down. And all these are in my previous videos. You can watch them. Then we're going to have them manipulate letters, plastic letters, and put the C, A, T, point to it and say the letter names. So these are systems, okay? And when it's sequential, that means it has to make sense. Cumulative, it has to make sense. We're going to start with certain things, follow with other things. After they do the manipulation with the plastic letters or even cards, we're going to have them read words. And so I have a reading program that's very unique because it uses all these structures and systems. It's very systematic and sequential and cumulative. And there's connected text in it, which means the sounds that the children are learning, they're going to be reading as well. And it's amazing because I use music. There's that music component. We listen to the classical music about 20 minutes. And I want to share with you that I have a music app. It's called CDSM. It's available on iOS and Android. Music plays in the left ear and spelling exercises play in the right ear. They cross over to the opposite sides of the brain. So the music goes to the right angular gyrus, giving it a job it loves to do, so it doesn't take over the reading. And then the spelling exercises go in the right ear, crossing to the left side of the brain, strengthening it like Pilates of the brain, at the left angular gyrus. So I have classical music. I have Tchaikovsky and Beethoven and Bach and Mozart, just beautiful string instruments. When you have piano or string instruments, it resonates with water. So when we have so much water in our brain, in our body, that it naturally resonates. I wanted to share some of the Mozart, Child Elsie, Meissen 1 hour. There's a London concert. There is a more modern classical music by Yanini, Yanini. You can try. Just Google him. And if you have a program that you're already using, you can choose a couple of your students and play classical music in the left ear. Pick Bach, Beethoven, Tchaikovsky, Yanini. Try them and see if it doesn't calm the brain down. So I wanted to just say that when we can help a dyslexic child read, we open up a world of opportunity to them so they can realize their potential. We will be building their self-esteem and unlocking that genius mind in those dyslexic kids. So don't grow weary. Try the music. I'm launching Cintron Orton Gillingham Reading Institute right now. And I have a reading program that's has virtual training, and you can order the virtual trainings today. Just reach out to me. My website is dyslexia-solutions.com, and you can go under products and programs and see what I have to offer. Let's get started today. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye now.